What is going on, Laker fans? Appreciate you guys tuning in. A little off day here. Still have to get some content up. Figured there's still a lot of stuff to talk about around the Los Angeles Lakers. So why the hell not get into it? Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Got a few things that I want to get into. Just want to spend some time talking about the Lakers. Do they got some real issues, or is this just a bad start with some real excuses? Some of the quotes yesterday when I did my live, this is just kind of because I'm trying to go live right after the game. But eventually, I start catching some of these quotes that come from post game. A couple of them, since I'm doing my show live, I can't really talk about it till the next day or whatever the case is, unless I see a quote on Twitter or something along those lines. So I saw a couple quotes that I don't know, irked me. I think it probably bothered a lot of Laker fans how everything was playing out yesterday, losing by 34 to the Houston Rockets. So I'll spend a little time. If the Lakers got some real issues, or is this just everybody relax, calm down, they'll be fine? Also, I got a question about if this roster is the right roster for the Lakers. That guys like D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, I mean, players that you clearly have banked on, at least for this year, to come through for you if you got confidence in the roster. I know it's a way too soon to be talking about trades, but is that something that you think the Lakers will be exploring over the next couple of months? So that's what we'll get into. Lakers Suns tomorrow. I probably won't talk too much about. We'll just kind of wait until tomorrow, and I'll get a chance to break all that down after the game tomorrow. So here's the main topic that I want to get into. Do the Lakers have real issues, or is this just simply a bad start with a lot of guys in and out of the lineup? I mentioned to you guys there were some quotes that kind of annoyed me yesterday. I'm going to read a couple of them right now. And when I say annoyed, let me explain to you what I mean. The Lakers are 0-5 on the road so far this year. It's not a good stat. Anthony Davis, other than really the second half against the Miami Heat, where the Lakers lost that game by 1, and then the game against the Houston Rockets yesterday, AD's been available. He's been there. So it's not like Anthony Davis and LeBron James have both missed significant time. No, that hasn't been the case. They've basically been there for the entire season through the first 8 games or so, other than Anthony Davis missing that last one and part of the game against the Miami Heat. So I don't have too many excuses for the Lakers. I got some, but they're 0-5 so far outside of Crypto.com Arena. That's a pretty awful stat. There was a stat, and I know I went through it a couple of times this morning on the radio show. Through 8 games, the Lakers have been outscored by 74 points in first quarters, which is the worst margin through 8 games in NBA history, according to ESPN Stats and Information Research. Okay, that's, again, not exactly a stat that you want to have associated with the Lakers. Here's some of the quotes that came out yesterday, and I'll tell you what annoyed me most, but I'm going to give you a couple of them. Here's LeBron after the game. He said, we can't build cohesion if we don't have our unit. It's that simple. It's just we're very depleted on the injury side. Okay, you know what? I'm going to let Laker fans kind of react to this. Is it just as simple as that? Are the Lakers, even though they're getting demolished against teams like the Orlando Magic, the Houston Rockets, again, teams that you're not thinking are going to compete in the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference for an NBA Finals berth, even though they're putting up historically awful numbers in the first quarter, literally, which, what does that tell you? Does that tell you that the team's they're not ready once the game starts? Is the coaching staff not getting them properly prepared? Is it, too lackadaisical? Is it other teams are coming out and saying, hey, we know if we could just get out in the first quarter, there's a good chance we can win this game because the Lakers are more lax in the first quarter? I don't know what it is. I just know that's a problem. Is it the Lakers are have the worst 3-point percentage in the entire NBA, That's certainly not exactly a good stat. I'm going to read LeBron's quote again. I mean, we can't build cohesion if we don't have our unit. It's that simple. It's just it's just we're very depleted on the injury side. Okay, so I want to believe LeBron on this one. I do. I want to believe that LeBron thinks, and I'm not questioning whether LeBron actually thinks this because I think he probably does if he believes it. I'm sure he believes in what he's saying, but I don't believe in it. And I'm going to tell you why I don't believe in it. All I was hoping for Bron would say after a 34-point ass kicking yesterday to the Houston Rockets, all I was hoping LeBron would say is, guys, we got no excuses. I mean, the Rockets just came out here. They punched us right in the chin, and we didn't have a response. And that's not Lakers basketball. And I'm just going to make sure that um, in that game coming up against Phoenix, if you didn't feel like we had enough effort placed tonight, if you didn't feel like we were getting the loose balls, second chance points, we know how awful we've been. Rebounding, we know how awful we've been. It's not going to keep happening. That's the only message that I'm going to send out to Laker fans that's out there, that's not going to keep happening. There's certain things that we can control. We can't control the injuries. Of course, not having Anthony Davis is a killer. Of course, not having Jared Vanderbilt, Gabe Vincent, some of these other key players, Jackson Hayes, another role player. Those are killers, but there's certain things we can control, and this stuff's not going to keep happening again. That's all I wanted to hear. And I think a lot of Laker fans, that's all they wanted to hear. I'm going to read another quote after yesterday's game. This is from Darvin Ham. We're juggling different circumstances, guys being in and out of the lineup, but at the end of the day, no one's going to feel sorry for you, especially when you're a Los Angeles Laker. That part he's not wrong about. I think for me, I don't know how you could have watched 8 Laker games so far this year and say, hey, guys, the only reason why they're struggling is because they have some injuries. If you think the only reason why the Lakers 8 games in are 3-5, 0-5 on the road, worst 3-point percentage in the NBA, historically bad at the end of the first quarter, getting beat in second chance points, getting beat in offensive rebounds, getting out hustled, 50-50 balls or 80-20. If you think that's only because Gabe Vincent, Jared Vanderbilt, Rui Hachimura, who missed 4 games, if you think it's only because those guys are out, I don't know what to tell you. It can't just be that. It can't. LeBron's playing pretty good basketball. Anthony Davis has played in 6.5 of these games he's been there, yet the Lakers are still struggling. And I've heard some people say, they lost a game in overtime against the Sacramento Kings. They lost a game against Miami by 1 point. If they win these 2 games, we're not having this conversation. Sure, but at the other side of it, you barely beat the Orlando Magic. You needed a 28-11 run in the fourth quarter to beat the Phoenix Suns without Devin Booker and Bradley Beal. You needed a huge run against the Clippers to come back in that game and win. It's not like the Lakers have had any games where you sat back and said, damn, look at the Lakers. They look impressive. They look good. Watch out. Everything else. And the point of this video is not for me to say that the season is over or the Lakers are screwed. That's certainly not the point of the video. But I think it's just to raise awareness that what the Lakers are trying to tell us, and at least what I've seen through 8 games, it's not just because of the injuries. It's not just because a couple guys are in and out of the lineup. I'm not telling you that that's not more of a challenge. I'm not telling you that that's tough to probably juggle for Darvin Ham, and it's probably tough for some of these guys to figure out because there's so many different starting lineups and the rotations, or they're just thin, or whatever the case is, or there's a lack of talent because certain places. I know Gabe Vincent's going to help out the Lakers. I know Jared Vanderbilt's going to help out the Lakers. AD, I don't have to talk about. Rui Hachimura, who was out for 4 games. I know all these guys are going to help the Lakers. But how they're playing and how they're losing seems like a bigger issue to me than just injuries. So, to go back to my original question here of real issues for the Lakers or just a bad start, I think they got some issues that they got to work on. Period. And I don't think there's I don't think this is one of those conversations or subjects where it's too difficult to understand. You can have some guys out and you can have some injuries, but you can also acknowledge that it's been really bad basketball for 8 straight games. You could really acknowledge that it has not been the product that everybody was expecting. We were having this conversation a little bit earlier this morning, and I heard this on kind of more of a national conversation as well for the most part today. And the conversation was more about, look, are the Lakers just overvalued right now? Did we walk into the season overvaluing the Lakers, or no, they just need some time and they're going to figure it out? So I want to remind you guys about something. It's kind of crazy to play this exercise, but I think it's a fair exercise to play. You guys remember the playing game the Lakers had against the Minnesota Timberwolves? And Lakers, I think, were up 3. The game was back and forth. Minnesota at times, I'm like, Minnesota's going to win this game, and Lakers are going to freaking end up having to play in a do or die game to just get into the playoffs, and that's how close the game against Minnesota was. So the playing tournament is going on. Lakers are against the Minnesota Timberwolves. You guys remember when Anthony Davis fouled Mike Conley on a corner 3 with whatever, a second left, 2 seconds left, whatever it was. And then next thing you know, Conley goes to the free throw line and sends the game to overtime. He hits all three free throws. And Lakers end up winning that game. But it was that close to the Lakers having to play another game just to get into the playoffs. And we're playing out this scenario this morning. We're saying to ourselves that, what if the Lakers lost that game and then had to play the Denver Nuggets in the first round of the playoffs because they ended up being an 8 seed instead of a 7 seed? And let's say the exact same thing happened. Lakers play the Denver Nuggets in the first round, and they're swept in 4 games. And that's it. Lakers basically barely squeak into the playoffs. They get Denver in the first round. They don't win one playoff game. It's a wrap. Lakers season is over. How much different would the offseason have been if that was the scenario that played out? Well, how much different would the offseason have been if the Lakers lose to Minnesota, play the Denver Nuggets in the first round, and are swept? Are they still re-signing D'Angelo Russell, Rui Hachimura? Just how much different would it be? Would there just be this knee-jerk reaction? Oh my gosh, we got to go get another star. I don't know. I don't have that answer, and that didn't happen. What essentially ended up happening is they escape against Minnesota, get to play a Memphis Grizzlies team that doesn't have Steven Adams, doesn't have Brandon Clark. Ja Morant's got the wrist issue, even misses a game. Then they get an opportunity to play the Golden State Warriors, who it was such a mismatch because of the Lakers' size. The Lakers dominate the Warriors. They got this situation with Draymond Green and Jordan Poole, whatever was going on there, and their chemistry. Lakers knock out the Warriors, get to the Western Conference Finals, and then get swept by the Denver Nuggets. I think the offseason would have looked a lot different. And the reason why I bring that up is that takes me back to, are the Lakers overvalued coming into the season based off of the path that they had? They were on a heater. It was a 20-game stretch or so where the Lakers had everybody, and it was this just got to get in the playoffs. So there was a crazy sense of urgency. And now that the dust has settled and other teams have got a chance to say, what makes Austin Reeves so good? Let's take that away from him. D'Angelo Russell, we know, is going to be kind of up and down. LeBron will be in his 21st season. How much of this, and this is, I think, just kind of a cold reality, and we're going to get we're going to get a true identity of it over the next month or two. Maybe the Lakers are overvalued. Maybe they're not as good as we all hype them up to be, or we expected them to be, just based off them getting to the Western Conference Finals. Now, I will tell you, I think the Lakers are incredibly talented. I think they got great depth, and I think they got a great team. But through the first 8 games, damn, is my opinion, the taste in my mouth changing as every game goes by. I'm like, anybody else watching what the hell is going on here? And the answer is yes, everybody's watching what's going on. This has not been a good product by any stretch of the imagination. I have not enjoyed watching Lakers basketball so far this year in these 8 games. And I get what Bron is saying. I get what Darvin Ham is saying. All I'm trying to say is I don't think it's just because you got a couple of guys out. I think you haven't played good basketball, and I think there are some other concerns. I mean, I was on the post-game show yesterday, or we were doing our post-game, and I was talking about, I'm like, Austin Reeves basically gave you nothing. And so far this season, sporadically he's been there, but certainly not on a consistent basis. D'Lo, I'm not sure what I'm going to get from D'Lo on a night in, night out basis. Some nights the stats might look good. Are they empty calories? Are they coming when the game is over? Yeah, that could happen. I thought some of his stats yesterday against the Rockets were certainly more lean towards that way. So it's a surprising start to the season, to say the least, and I don't think anybody was really expecting that. Okay. By the way, if you want to answer this question on your own, real issues for the Lakers or just a bad start, make sure to put it in the comments below. Something to keep in mind, one other thing to keep in mind, I think ultimately at the end of the day, as the guys come back, the team's not going to be the worst 3-point shooting team in the NBA. They're going to, I'm assuming, figure out why they can't start a game or why they keep starting games down 10, 12, 14, 15 points, whatever it is. I think that's going to eventually figure itself out. And then, some of the depth of some of these players that we were all highlighting and excited about, I think it will come to fruition, but was not expecting this start, and I don't think anybody else was. Okay, real quick shout out here to our partner on Hoops Talk, Underdog Fantasy. So Underdog Fantasy is a fantastic it kind of really makes it fun to play some of these daily fantasy sites. And for me, I think probably the biggest thing is kind of get some skin in the game. And it's something that certainly makes games more exciting. I got a couple of picks. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit how I do this and why you should play Underdog Fantasy. I do the pick'ems. So the pick'ems right here in the left-hand corner. I already picked it. So pregame means basically games that are going to happen tomorrow. NBA obviously means NBA games. And I just basically went all the way to the bottom. I saw the Lakers Suns. So we're going to pick a couple games, Lakers and the Suns. If you use my code HoopsLA, they're going to match your first deposit up to $100. Make sure you use the code HoopsLA. I'll get credit for it. And, that would obviously mean a lot to me. It's a great way of supporting our local partner. You guys know Daily Fantasy, these sites have become just such a big part of everybody's really content. And Underdog Fantasy was nice enough to join the partnership with me. It's the first partner I've ever had on. So I'm very proud to have them on Hoops Talk. Okay, so let me just kind of go through this. All you got to do is just basically pick higher or lower. Let's do Bron in points at Phoenix. Higher or lower than 25.5 points. I'm going to say Bron goes higher than 25.5. Now, we better not be getting our asses kicked in this game like we were against the Rockets, but we'll see. You guys want me to go Bron? You guys want me to go Reeves? I'll keep it at Bron. Keep it at Bron. Okay, the other side, who do we want to go with? Want to go Kevin Durant? 28.5 points. Higher or lower for KD on the points? Bradley Beal is back. Lakers will try to pay attention. I'm going to go lower. I'm going to go low for it. So I got Bron higher than 25.5 points. I got KD lower than 28.5 points. $10 bet here. You see it says here, 2 correct pays up to $30 because I bet $10. Again, make 2 picks. You can make up to, I think up to 5 is the most that you can make. But I'm just going to make the 2 here. I'm going to hit submit. I'm all set to go. Tomorrow's game, here are my picks. It's that easy. It's that fun. Gives you some skin in the game. And specifically, it's the Lakers game that this is associated with. So Underdog Fantasy, use that code HoopsLA. Appreciate that. One other topic I want to get into. Can this roster get it done, or do they need to make some type of a trade? Now, we got a long time. We really do have a long time before this is really, really a conversation. But I'm going to take something, and, there's plenty of days that I see Ramona Shelburne of ESPN there was something that came out. This was Hoops Collective podcast, and she had said something to the effect of there are already calls in Los Angeles for a third star, but more context to that. That doesn't mean anything's happening. It just means that obviously the Lakers will always, always look to see if there's a way to improve their roster. I thought it was interesting in the offseason. I thought it was very strategic from Rob Pelinka that D'Angelo Russell was X amount of dollars, that Rui Hachimura was X amount of dollars, that Taurean Prince was X amount. You have basically 5, 6, 7 guys. Gabe Vincent was $11 million a year. You have a ton of flexibility if you thought that this team was not good enough to go make a finals run. And the only way that you find that out is got to play basketball for a couple of months. And that's how long it's probably going to take to figure it out. That's how long it's probably going to take to, ask yourself that question. Hey, is this roster good enough? It goes back to the question that I was asking earlier. Did we overvalue the Lakers? And now we're just kind of starting to figure out that, maybe they're not as good as we originally thought we originally thought they were. I would say this about the roster. We got a lot of time. And there is patience because in the NBA, you really don't know what you have for about 20, 25 games. And you also don't really know what you have when you do have some guys. If I'm going to sympathize with the Lakers, they have had guys sitting on the sidelines. So I think that's something to keep in mind. I don't know if this roster is good enough to get it done. I will just say, to start the season, not impressed at all, and I don't think anybody is. I think that Rob Pelinka and that front office, and I'm sure LeBron James, Clutch Sports, all these people that have powerful voices within the franchise, they're all looking at what's going on. Nobody is in the business right now with the Lakers, certainly not LeBron James, of saying, you know what, if it doesn't work out this year, we'll just kick the can down the road. Bron doesn't have time like that, and the Lakers are in a window where they're trying to win right now. It'd be interesting, if through 20 games, if the Lakers are 8-12 or 9-11 or whatever it is, if you start hearing some rumors of, there's a little bit of pressure here. You know what? That guy's not performing all that well. Maybe they make some kind of a move. Through 30 games, what's that record look like, right? Are they 13-17? Are they 14-16? Are they 15-15? Whatever that record is, if it's not pointed in the right direction and it doesn't feel like this team is competing enough against some of these, whether elite teams or bad teams, whatever you want to describe it, I wonder how much, that front office is going to look at this team and say, okay, maybe we got to make some changes. Maybe it's necessary to make some changes. But either way, that's something to keep in mind. Okay, Laker fans, that's all I got for tonight. I appreciate you guys consuming the content, being a part of it. I greatly appreciate that. Lakers, like I mentioned, got the Phoenix Suns coming up tomorrow. In-season tournament begins for the Lakers. Still not 100% sure what that means, but we'll just try to enjoy it, and we'll take it from there. So thank you for being a part of the show. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. Would appreciate that. Hope you guys have a good rest of your night. I'll catch you guys tomorrow after the Lakers take on the Phoenix Suns. Thanks, Laker fans. Have a great night.